The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod, and we are webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. So thrilled to be with you on this very exciting day here in the United States. Of course, it is Election Day, as if any of us could possibly not know that, right? And I promise we're not going to talk about that at all today, except to say that we're all going to find time to vote. There it is. It's over, and it makes it an extra hectic day, but we'll find the time to do that. But we are going to talk about, for the next 2 hours, how we can be the most effective, most efficient member of a team working with a child on the autism spectrum, helping them to reach their fullest potential. Whether you're a parent, a teacher, practitioner, I know that that's a passion of yours. It happens to be a passion of mine because I am an autism parent and I'm a former teacher, and it means so much to me personally. So much of the discussion lately about, people are talking about what's important to them. And I appreciate hearing what's important to everybody else. And I know amongst my friends, I had a lovely evening last night with friends where we were talking about all kinds of things under the sun. And I said, I'm not even going to apologize for it. This is something that I'm passionate about. This is something that's important to me. It's personal to me because my son was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5, and he's doing wonderfully. And I know that there are people who have said to me, so, you can move on. Well, in some ways that's true, and in some ways we have. We're not done by any stretch of the imagination. My son still has things that he's working on and needs to work on, and I suspect that will be a lifelong thing. He is brilliant and fabulous in so many ways, but there are still ways that he needs help supporting him to understand things that sometimes come easier to other people. On the flip side, there are things that he gets that I'm never gonna get, right? He sat at the dinner table last night and explained his math homework to his father, and it was hilarious. I wished I'd videotaped it because neither his father nor I understood it, and he got it. And my husband said, seriously, I don't know how he did that, and did it all in his head. So he's got it all going on. But in a lot of respects, I got to be honest with you, I can't move on until we all get help. Not moving on until it's a level playing field, and until every mother who has their child diagnosed does not have to go through what I had to go through and what so many people before me had to go through. And I'm a lucky one, and don't I know it, because my child got the best kind of help. He got early intensive behavior intervention. We had the Center for Autism and Related Disorders in our home 40 hours a week. See, I'm getting all verklempt here. So I'm one of the lucky ones, but until I can look all of you in the face and know that you all had that opportunity, I'm not going to be done. So for everyone else who wants me to be done and get over it, good luck. That's all I have to say. I'm not getting over it. I'm here. I'm here with you because I know how important your kid is to you. I should say I can only imagine, because I know how important my kid is to me and how much I cared about him being able to do the things that I knew he was capable of. So I'm here with you. And I know that together we can all get this done. See, we're 5 minutes into the show and I'm already a mess. It's okay. It's an emotional day. But I want to let you know that this entire show is meant to be participatory. This is a global conversation between you, me, and everybody else out there watching and listening. So there are lots of ways that you can participate in this conversation, and Emily is going to start to show some of those to you on the screen. Pick what works for you. We all have our preferences, right? But if you want to watch us live, and I hope that some of you will, you can watch us on www.autism-live.com. When you go there, we're live 2 hours a day. We start at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time. And we're live for 2 hours. During that time, on autism-live.com, you see a screen, and there's a box that says Shannon is answering right now. That box is active. All you have to do is type whatever you'd like. You can tell me how you're feeling today, what your stress is today, what your child is doing today, what's going on, what are the things that are really kicking your keister, right, that you need some help and support with, because I'm here not as an expert. I'm not an expert, but I'm here to try to hook you up with the answers that you need and to remind you that you can do this, because I know you can, and I know you can, but it helps to be reminded that you're doing a great job. And that's why I'm here, to help connect you with the answers that you want and remind you that you're remarkable. You really are, and you're getting this done, and you're doing your level best today, and guess what? That's just fabulous. I know we always sit there and go, but there's so much more to do. Yeah, there is, and there'll be tomorrow too. But you're doing your level best today, and that counts for everything. We're showing up for our kids. Okay, so participate in the conversation. We really enjoy it when you do. You can write whatever you want in there. Tell me, Shannon, I need some help with this. Find somebody. I got to remind you guys that tomorrow is very exciting around here, because we start our new segment, Ask Dr. Doreen. Dr. Doreen Granpeche will be with us tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time, and we'll be taking your questions live. I have a bunch of questions that you guys have been writing in the last couple of weeks that are prepared, but we're also going to be taking your questions live. And this is an ongoing segment, so when things come up and you think to yourself, man, I wish I could ask an autism expert this question, what would it be? Because you have the ability to do that, and it's not going to cost you a single cent. How much do we love that? I love that. I can't wait, because I know I'm going to learn so much. And I'm thrilled for you guys that you have the opportunity. When I think about in those early days of autism, what I would have given to have been able to hear Dr. Doreen Granpeche speak an hour a week and have the opportunity to put a question that she would answer, it's mind-blowing to me. I'm so excited and thrilled that I get to be a part of that, get a front row seat, and you guys all have a front row seat too. So I hope you'll tune in tomorrow for Ask Dr. Doreen. But that's really what we're about here, is answering the questions and posing more questions and helping you with whatever you need. We talk about a wide variety of subjects, from funding to emotions to stress to what are we going to put on the dining room table at night and how are we going to put it there, right? Because that's a part of this. We talk about what happens in the living room. We talk about what happens in the kitchen. We talk about what happens in the dining room. We talk about putting our kids to sleep. And we talk about what they do in the bathroom, too. There's just no subject that's off limits here, because we're talking about our lives, right? This is the stuff that we deal with on a daily basis. And if we can make it a little bit easier, right, it all adds up. Okay. We like to start every morning with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day. This is the time of day when we take on one word, one phrase, one anagram, and we figure out just what in the heck they're talking about. We see experts on a regular basis if we're lucky, or we get an opportunity to see them speaking online, and they use words, right, that have to do with autism, psychology, ABA, education, and are jargon terms. We have to make friends with these terms, but we can't do it overnight. It's too overwhelming, right? And frankly, you know, especially in the beginning, you're underslept, overstressed. It's hard circumstances in which to learn. So we like to pare it down into just a little sliver every day. One word, one phrase, one anagram to add to our little bag of tricks that we understand what we're talking about. So yesterday, our term was expressive language, and I promise you that today would be the flip of that, which is receptive language. This is our jargon term for today, receptive language. So let's take a look at what our actual definition for receptive language, there we go. Our actual definition for receptive language is the process of attending to communication, spoken or non-vocal, comprehending the communication, and being able to react appropriately within a specified time parameter, even when what is being conveyed contains multiple facets. Okay, pretty, you know, lengthy, but hopefully you can get the meaning of it. If you don't, let's go to our working definition, the child's ability to understand what is being said to them. But also remember that what's being said to you is more than just sound coming out of mouth, right? The child needs to be able to understand gestures, and to be able to understand the greater meaning of what's being said. So that if I'm saying to a child, you know, that I want them to come here, are they able to understand that? If I say stop, does the child understand that? If I say pick up your shoes, does the child understand that? If I say there's a dog, does the child understand that? If I point, does the child understand that I want them to look there? So remember that for expressive language, we talked about this yesterday, that expressive language is what goes this way. It could be sign, it could be pointing to a picture or pointing to something. That's expressive language. Receptive language is being able to receive it. Do you receive the language and understand it? And do you receive it and understand it in a timely fashion? I like to say sometimes that I'm on a tape delay. If I'm real preoccupied with something and I'm working something out in my head, which frequently I am, you know, you might say something to me and I, you know, nod because I heard you say it. But my brain is processing something else, and then eventually it gets, and I go, oh, I'm sorry, you wanted me to answer, you know, and I always say, I'm sorry, I'm on a little bit of a tape delay. And we see that sometimes with our kids, that there's a little bit of a delay, that you say to them, you know, go get your shoes, and there's just a little bit. Sometimes that's a processing disorder, and sometimes it is the child's ability to understand phonemes, to be able to hear a sound and be able to effectively be able to process it, but it's all a part of receptive language. And what's interesting to me about autism, and keep in mind I'm a former teacher, but I taught older kids, right? And I would always hear people talking about receptive language and expressive language, and I didn't really realize how important it is to know where your child is in terms of expressive and receptive language, because there are some kids that are relatively even in terms of expressive and receptive language, but what we see a lot of time on the spectrum is that there is disparity between the two, that one is higher and one is lower. And it's a good thing to know about your child which is stronger for them, expressive or receptive, for a lot of different reasons. First of all, you play to the strength, right? If you know that your child is better at expressive language, you're going to play to that strength, but you also know that you're going to come in and do a whole lot of work to shore up the receptive. Because when we take care of the weaker one, by using the stronger one, we're going to see progress. And that's a really important thing to do. So your child might be doing really well in terms of expressive and speaking, but they're not understanding what everybody else is saying around them. Imagine how difficult it is to move through a life and be able to tell people what you need, but not to easily understand what they're saying to you. That could create some real problems and frustration, right? What about on the flip, which is a lot of our kids on the spectrum, that their expressive language is low to no expressive language. Their ability to communicate their needs to you is not there. But what if the receptive language was relatively high? So they were picking up all of this stuff and getting all of this information and not being able to say what their needs are. We've seen that time and time and time again with our kids on the spectrum. You know, I think about Carly Fleischman, who is a young woman now with a book out, and a blog, and a social network. You know, she's amazing. But she didn't convey her first expression of expressive language until she was 9 years old. And how she did that was she leaned over and typed onto a computer, "Teeth hurt, help." Imagine for a moment how much information she took in receptively to get to the first expression of language, typing out, "Teeth hurt, help." How much had she heard? And in her book, Carly's Voice, she and her dad talk about how she was getting all this information, but she wasn't able to sort it out until she got to a certain age, and then she could sort those sounds out. And what an amazing time in her life that was. What if we could have helped her to sort that receptive out 5 years earlier? You know, your mother's heart clenches and you go, oh my goodness. So really, really important for us to know where our children are in terms of acceptive and receptive language. Play to the strength, shore up the thing that is not the strength. And what we see when we do that is that children make huge leaps in all areas. Really important to be asking those questions. And you know, when you go into the IEP, they're going to say, oh, well, your child's expressive language is this and their receptive language is that. Good things to know. Okay, let's move on to our question of the day. Yesterday we asked you what area of social skills your child demonstrates strength. Well, today we're asking you the opposite. What social skill would you really like to work on with your child? So we're talking about what the strength is. Where is the skill that you need to shore up? What would you like to be working? What change would you like to see in your child's social skills? And I already checked in this morning to see some of the things that you guys wrote, and they're really heart-tugging. And we're going to check in a little bit later to read some of those things, but I want to invite you to add your voice to it. You can go on Facebook and tell us what skill you guys would like to work on. Because we'll talk about how you can do that, and we'll have Dr. Doreen Crampichet with us tomorrow, and she can help us to know how we're going to get that done. All right, and I mentioned yesterday that I had added this year to my son, at his IEP meeting, I added 3 goals that I would like to see during playground time. That at least 2 of them have social language goals about being flexible with social language, there's a play goal about being persevering is the word that I'm looking for, so that he will actually have friends with someone, and being able to repair a conversation when it breaks down. It's a huge social goal to notice it and have the skills to be able to repair the conversation. Okay, so our topic for the day and for the entire week, as if you couldn't guess already, is in fact social skills. How do we help our kids to gain ground and be more social? And to that end, some of the different things that we're going to talk about today, we have a myth of the day about that. We're going to show you Smarty. This is the art segment that Suzanne Oshinsky is now doing for us, to do a craft with our children that is appropriate for the season that we're in. And in just a few minutes, we are going to be joined via Skype by Ola Pinney, and she is part of the Global Autism Project. I'm really excited to talk to her today about some plans that she's got as she is trying to spread the awareness of autism and skills to work with children around the globe. But also, Molly is located in Lower Manhattan and has experienced the brunt of Sandy, and I'm really looking forward to talking to her about what we can all do to be supportive of our autism families that were in the path of Sandy, as well as all the other individuals that are there too. It's really heart-wrenching to continue to watch the pictures. We're over a week later, and I look at those pictures and imagine what that must be like for a typical family, and then I put in autism into the picture, and it's a little overwhelming. So we're going to be talking with her about that. We're going to take a break and hopefully connect with her when we come back. Stick with us.
Son.
My son.
My brother.
My daughter is one of the
1 in 88 children
On the autism spectrum.
I have autism.
I have autism,
I have autism,
And I want you to see me as an individual.
and not as a label.
I want to find out why my brother has autism.
I want the government to say that
Autism is a public health crisis.
I need to know who will take care of my child when I'm gone.
I want to know what treatments.
What solutions are out there for my child?
We need insurance reform.
In all 50 states.
I want autism to be an unavoidable topic for those running for office this fall.
I want my students to be
safe in school.
I want the bullies to leave me alone.
Autism Speaks encourages all Americans to ask candidates, how will you make a difference for those living with autism?
I want a Senate.
A president
A Congress
that recognizes autism
as an urgent public health crisis.
Crisis it is.
I want our lawmakers to listen.
Make your voice heard this election. Visit autismvotes.org.
Currently, in the United States, 1 in 88 children is affected by autism. 1 in 88 means something different when your child is the one. Recovery is possible. Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, host of Autism Live, an online show about autism broadcast by CARD, the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I'm also the mother of a child with autism, my beautiful son, Jem. You know our old joke, guess what?
Chicken butt.
Chicken butt. So we're going to take the chickens. But things weren't always so easy. I remember when Jem was first diagnosed with autism. I used to lay awake at night in bed and pray for someone or something that could help us to get our child back. My prayers were answered by Dr. Doreen Graham-Pichet and the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. CARD treats autism and other related disorders using the principles of ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, which is the only scientifically proven effective treatment for autism. It is also recommended by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the U.S. Surgeon General. About a year after we started treatment with CARD, we were able to see tremendous improvement, and we got our child back.
What grade are you in?
Second.
You are a smart cookie, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like school?
Yeah.
Do you have any good friends?
Yeah, Oscar.
Oscar is your best friend?
Yeah.
And my child is just one of thousands to benefit from CARD ABA therapy. Across the nation and around the world, children are making amazing progress and being given the keys to unlock their full potential.
We are extremely grateful for the amazing job CARD has done in helping our daughter. Our daughter today, just in 4 months, I think is a totally different child than when she started with CARD. I kind of see it as, it seems like her brain in a way was asleep, and now that we've gotten so many services, we've seen her wake up.
Teacher has some gases.
Recovery is possible if you take the right steps, if you're willing to put in all the hard work. And 7.5 years, yeah, it's a lot of work. It's worth every little bit, and CARD's been there with us every step of the way.
I have 2 children with autism. I can't imagine a day without CARD or the therapists. They've been so instrumental in helping us with our kids and shaping their lives and helping us help them.
Thank you, Christina Big Alex.
Thank you, Jackie and Mariana.
We've tried other things before ABA, but the most beneficial thing has been ABA services, and I'd be the first person to tell any newly diagnosed family that you have to contact an ABA provider, and if you're lucky enough to have CARD, you're very blessed.
Recovery from autism is absolutely a possibility. We've been recovering children for over 20 years. It's just a matter of identifying the child's medical needs, understanding the child's sensory issues, and then teaching the child all of the skills they need in order to function normally.
We know there's hope for autism. Autism is treatable, and recovery from autism is possible. Welcome back. We're connecting with Ola Pinney. We're going to be back with her in just a few minutes, but I wanted to take a minute to do our myth of the day. And our myth today, and we've heard this a lot, right, that children on the autism spectrum aren't social and they don't find it reinforcing. Well, here's what we know. That when our children get a diagnosis for autism, there is a component, there's those 3 different areas. I would say it's like a Chinese restaurant menu. You have to have 2 from column A, 1 from column B, and 1 from column C. Well, one of the columns and it's the column where you have to have 2 from, is the social communication column. So we do know that in order to have a diagnosis of autism, that our child has to have some sort of a deficit in the area of social communication. But what we also know is that those deficits can be worked on and progress can be made. It doesn't mean that the child has no ability nor a desire to be social. All of our kids are different, and what they enjoy and what they don't enjoy, and the level at which they are affected in terms of their social communication is going to be different in all children. So we never want to make assumptions. It's not a one-size-fits-all. It would be, I'm not good at math, right? And I say that, and it's a blanket term, but there are some things in math I can do, right? Right? It's not as though I can't add some numbers. So I think it's really important for us to focus on our individual children and looking at them and saying, where are their strengths and where are the areas that they could use some help and support, and focusing our time and energy on things that will be effective and efficient at helping them to use their strengths in a better way. So if there's some little skill that's missing and they've got a skill here, we put the 2 of them together and fireworks, right? And what we see are people outside our community who assume that there are no social skills. And I would encourage all of us to remind those people, look at the individual child. We talked about this a little bit yesterday, that our kids are often wanting to be social. They just are going about it in a way that is not the same way that we do. That doesn't make it wrong. We have to leave room for the fact that their communication is also valid. We want to help them to be able to communicate in a way that they can be understood, but that doesn't invalidate the way they communicate. And I mentioned, the one little boy who likes to rub arms. That's what he likes to do, and the girl that I met over the weekend who likes to smell people, wants to smell your hands. That is social. It isn't the way that we're used to. It's not necessarily considered by some people socially acceptable, but it is social. And so the desire is there to be social and connect with you in a way that is substantive to them. And I, for one, don't think that that's inappropriate at all, nor could it be. Yeah, do we want to teach other skills so that they can communicate with everyone? Yes, absolutely. Just like, a child is born into your family and you have a language that you speak in your family, and that's the way that you converse, that's great, and you want your child to learn that language. But you would, if your child was going off to Spain, you would want to make sure that they knew some words in Spanish, right? We never want to stop teaching ways to be able to communicate with more people. So we do teach our children more ways to communicate, but I think it's important that we acknowledge that they're not completely antisocial. That's very rare in our kids on the autism spectrum. It really is. They just have areas of deficit that are real, and they have areas where their social communication is not effective, and we can help them with that. So we look at each child individually, and with love and with compassion, and we teach. That's what we do. And we let go of these horrible myths that aren't based in reality. All right, we're going to take a break, and we'll be back, hopefully, this time with Ola Pinney. Stick with us.
is a revolutionary web-based program that incorporates comprehensive assessment, curriculum design, progress tracking, and treatment evaluation for children with autism all in one place. Developed by the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. Our approach is based on over 40 years of research on the principles of learning and their application to improving the lives of children with autism. How does Skills work? Created with speed and simplicity in mind, Skills was modeled on an easy 3-step process. Step 1. Start assessment. Step 1 begins with our intelligent assessment system, which consists of a series of questions. This assessment is essential to identifying your child's level of skills compared to their typical peers across all areas of development. This includes assessing social, motor, language, adaptive, play, cognition, executive functions, and academic skills. Every skill has an assigned age which indicates when the skill emerges during typical development. This means that each child is automatically presented only with lessons that are relevant to his or her age. Step 2. Choosing activities. It's now easier than ever to build an individualized treatment plan. In Step 2, you are presented with an individualized pool of activities that are directly linked to your student's assessment results. Each activity represents a specific skill that has been indicated by the assessment as needing to be taught. Activities are categorized by curriculum and then by lesson. There are 3 main types of skills: building blocks, fundamental, and expansion skills. Fundamental skills are necessary for successful everyday functioning. Building blocks are prerequisites to a fundamental skill. Expansion skills are non-essential skills, but may provide further enrichment in certain areas. After reviewing the activities available to you, you can quickly add your chosen activities to the treatment plan by simply checking the box and clicking the button. Step 3. Start treatment. Once you have selected and added the activities you want, you are ready to begin teaching. Skills provides you with all the tools necessary to design and manage an effective curriculum plan, such as printable activity guides that are customizable by the teacher, supplemental teaching aids including printable data sheets, teaching guides, visual aids, worksheets, and tracking forms, detailed IEP goals and benchmarks for each activity, brief and visually appealing video tutorials, a variety of treatment progress and clinical timeline charts, and lots more. And since Skills is completely web-based, everything you need is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, in one easy-to-access location. Skills users even benefit from unlimited access to a support community where they can ask questions and share ideas with a skills expert. Skills is always with you.
I'm Adele Nadowski, Director and Co-Creator of Skills. CARD e-learning is an online tool that has been developed by the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. CARD e-learning is the training that is delivered to the ABA therapists at CARD to train them on the principles of applied behavior analysis and to equip them with the knowledge they need to essentially deliver the ABA-based techniques during their therapy with the children that they work with. ABA has been proven scientifically to be the most effective intervention for children with autism. At this point, even the Surgeon General has come out with a statement suggesting just that. So we know that this is something that children with autism definitely need if they're going to improve and live the lives that we're hoping that they're going to be able to live. By being able to train people on this one particular method that we know works, and to be able to have all of your staff within your school settings on the same page, it allows you to take more of a multidisciplinary approach, and there's definite consistency going on within the team. It makes sure that every person involved with that child's treatment program, including the speech and language pathologist, the occupational therapist, the teachers, the aides, all of these individuals to be able to be trained so that they can all work together effectively with the child. Parents that are using CARD e-learning can use it either to train themselves, and then after having done that they can implement different techniques with their child in order to teach new skills. But oftentimes parents might also be working either with an ABA provider, with a school, or they may have even hired their own therapist to deliver the intervention techniques. So CARD e-learning can be used either to collaborate with your school. It can also be used to train the therapists that are coming to the home of the parents, or it can also be shared with the ABA provider so that that provider can find out about it and perhaps implement it within their organization and train their staff. You can also do reporting for your organization. So you can actually look and find out which teachers are progressing, what their quiz scores are, and actually we can give you reports as well that will help you to compare the different teachers and their performances. CARD e-learning is really simple to use. You can log on to this as long as you have a computer, that's all you need, and an internet connection. And you can work on it any time of the day, anywhere that you're at. When you log on, you realize that right away. First of all, on the top of the page, there's a navigational tutorial. It's a how to use this page button. Simply by watching that video, it'll all kind of unfold in front of you, and it becomes extremely self-explanatory. CARD e-learning has 9 modules, and you can basically go through those at your own pace. You're going to be watching videos that are kind of like a storyboard with narration, but in addition to that, there's many different video clips of therapists actually implementing the techniques that are being described within the storyboard that you can also watch. And then of course you're able to pause, you're able to type notes right directly underneath the video that you're watching. You can save your notes, you can review them, and between each module you do take a quiz, and once you pass that quiz you can go on to the next module. And then after you complete all of them, you have a final exam. And by completing the final exam and passing with a score of 85% or better, you will be given a certificate of completion. Let me show you how easy it is to use CARD e-learning.
Our special guest right now, joining us via Skype, is Molly Ola Pinney. And she is the director, CEO, and I think everything for Global Autism Project, an amazing organization that we're thrilled to let you guys know about. So Molly, what is your exact title?
I'm the founder and CEO of the Global Autism Project.
Okay. And we've shown an interview. We met you at ABAI, and we've shown an interview that we've done with you. But for our viewers at home who haven't seen that, tell them exactly what the Global Autism Project does, who you are and what you guys do.
Sure, absolutely. So we are a nonprofit organization. We're based here in New York City. And what we do is we work to build local capacity to provide quality services for people with autism around the world. So we work really as consultants to our international partners and train them in the business practices as well as the clinical practices to really create and build centers of excellence for people with autism globally. With all of that, we do a lot of awareness raising activities. We really leverage World Autism Awareness Day, the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, to raise awareness in the places where we work as well.
Well, it's a remarkable organization, and explain to me, is SkillCorps just a division of it, or is it something that works in conjunction with it? What is SkillCorps?
Yeah, absolutely. So what SkillCorps is it's actually our training program. So our training happens, we're in weekly contact with all of our partners so as to ensure comprehensive complete training for everybody. And then Skill Corps is actually the program that volunteers here from the U.S. In other countries. Actually, we have 2 Skill Corps participants on an upcoming trip from Kenya and Malaysia. They travel with us to our partner sites to provide the hands-on training. So we don't, we know that just doing the video modeling, just doing the the distance training via the magic of Skype is not entirely complete. And so we also go in and on the ground for 2 to 4 weeks at a time. We do provide on-the-ground hands-on training. And so Skill Corps is our team that goes in. It's an application process. It's a fee-based program, and we've had an overwhelming number of applicants for the program so far.
So help me to understand this, and for our viewers to understand this. You find a place in the world where, and obviously autism is around the world, but you find a place that has a population of kids on the autism spectrum that needs some support and they don't have resources. And you go there, and your mission there is not only to provide help, but for them to be able to do what you did when you leave. Is that it?
Absolutely, yes. There's a huge emphasis on a transfer of skills. The most important thing to us is the services after we leave, definitely. And the only thing is that we don't actually go looking for people ever. They find us and they ask for our services. And then we have a fairly comprehensive application process that we go through before accepting new partners, because we are looking for a partnership that's going to be beneficial, that is going to be long-lasting, that is going to be sustainable for the services to continue in the country well after we're gone. So,
and I love the fact that you're using the word partners, because it's something that they have to do with you and be involved with you, because you're going to leave and they have to be able to maintain it. So I love that. Yeah. So let's start with, who have you been partners with in the past? Where have you guys gone?
Sure. Yeah. The project originally started in Ghana. And to be very clear, the background of the project is that I had moved there with one family who had one child with autism, and I thought I would spend about 1 year. And I ended up spending 2 years, because people started coming to my house looking for the lady who knew what autism was. And yes, I knew what autism was. I had exactly 1 year experience as an ABA therapist. So I wasn't really the best person to be doing the training. And so the organization actually started when I was living and working in Ghana in West Africa. And after that, we partnered in Chandigarh, India with an organization called SORAM, which is where we're actually headed on our next Skill Corps trip in early December. And then we partnered with a place in Kenya called Kaizora, run by Ms. Pooja Panazar, and she is actually about to become the first board-certified behavior analyst on the continent of Africa, who will be trained on and working in the continent. And that's through a partnership that we actually have with UMass Boston. And then our most recent partnership is in Peru with Mapi Chavez, and that is at Alcanzando in Lima, Peru. Mapi is actually already a BCBA. She's actually a BCBA D. She's a PhD level BCBA. That's board certified behavior analyst. I'm not sure quite who your is, but that's what Mapi is. And so Mapi runs a center in Peru, and we partner with her to work with the staff training and, again, the awareness. So we've had recent inquiries from Indonesia, Malaysia, Japan, Vietnam, Argentina, and I know those are my Saudi Arabia. So those are my conference calls in the next 2 weeks. But we get inquiries from around the world all the time.
Very exciting. So let's start with, if you are someplace in the world and you are wanting to apply to be a partner, how do they go about that process?
Yeah, great question. So we've tried to streamline it as much as possible, again, because of the demand. So on our website, where it says where we are and it lists the countries where we currently work, there's a section that says future sites. And that's where you begin the process. It asks a few questions. It brings you to a form that you fill out. And from there, Connie, who works here in the office, will set up an interview, and we'll start talking, and we'll understand a little bit more about what your needs are and what our services are, and see if it's a strong fit. So absolutely, yeah, our website is www.globalautismproject.org. You can Google Global Autism Project. We've been here for 10 years, so we tend to pop up in the Google search these days.
Absolutely. And Molly, can a parent apply, or do you need to be a psychologist or working to get your BCBA? Can anyone be a partner?
That's a great question. Yes, we have, one of the great things about being a relatively small organization and a relatively nimble organization is that we are able to customize our partnerships in different places. Everyone's needs are different, not only culturally, but certainly, yes, in some places, you know, it is a parent. In some places, it is a therapist or a clinician. So absolutely, you know, one of the things that we've learned a bit about over the last few years is that we do require our partners to really develop, to find at least 6 other people who want this to happen in their community, because it's a big job for one person. It really is. So we make sure that it's a welcome. It's a welcome service in their area.
Great. And so on the other side of it, for SkillCorps, if there is somebody who's watching this who is a therapist or a BCBA or getting their BCBA, and they would like to spend some time helping someone around the world take their vacation and go to someplace exotic and make a difference in the world, how do they apply to be a part of SkillCorps?
Yeah, great question. So again, on our website, we have a section that says SkillCorps, and there's an application right on our website that people are able to fill out. And again, Connie, our SkillCorps coordinator, reaches out to you to set up an interview. The interviews that we do for everybody traveling, they're actually with a member of the Global Autism Project staff as well as our partner. So there's a lot of transparency there, and our partners knowing who's coming to work with them and actually being a part of that selection process, and also our interviewees getting to know our partners a bit and asking specifically what are your needs, what is going on, you know, in India and Kenya and Peru, et cetera. So yeah, absolutely. If there are people who are board certified behavior analysts, who are you know, who we've actually had a few undergrad students who are studying ABA, which is terrific. You're not required to be a BCBA to come on SkillCorps. You're required to have experience with people with autism. We're also going to have some needs in the next several years, I think, for some related service providers around speech therapists and OTs and other people who are providing services to the population as well. So absolutely, if you're interested in applying, definitely fill out an application. As I said earlier, we did get an overwhelming number of responses, but our answer to that is we're actually hoping to add more trips in the future.
That's wonderful. And I imagine that all of this costs a fair amount of money, and you guys are a nonprofit organization. Yeah. So my last question to you is, if people see this and say, you know, I'm not in a position to go right now, but this is important to me, I'd like to give $1 or $5 or $5 million and anything in between, how can they donate to the Global Autism Project?
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. That's on our website as well. There's actually conveniently a donate button on every page. The other thing that we've had people do, which has been really great and really inspiring for us, is people have run marathons and they've done all kinds of different events sort of in honor and celebration of and to raise money for the Global Autism Project. So that's on our website as well. If people are interested in being kind of team Global Autism Project in a marathon, in a 5K, and you know, anything in between, there's a way to do that as well. So, and they can always contact, you know, you can contact me directly, Molly at globalautismproject.org, if you have any questions about that.
Okay, Molly, I thank you so much for your work with this. And again, we want to remind people, globalautismproject.org is where you want to go.
Absolutely.
Okay. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we're going to ask Molly to talk to us a little bit about, she's in Lower Manhattan, and we want to talk to her about what Sandy has done there and what it's done to her organization, what it's done to so many other people, and ask her for some advice about what you and I can do to help support families with autism that have gone through Hurricane Sandy, and really to support everyone. So stick with us. More with Molly, Ola Pinney, when we come back.
A boy born in Joplin, Missouri was fascinated by anything with wheels and a motor. The odds of him going on to fascinate millions with his talent? 1 in 260,000. The odds of this born racer having 157 career top 10 finishes in NASCAR? 1 in 125 billion. The odds of him winning both the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 in the same year? 1 in 195 million. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism? 1 in 88. I'm NASCAR driver Jamie McMurray, and my niece has autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
Joining us via Skype right now is Molly Ola Pinney. She is the CEO and founder of the Global Autism Project, but she is also located in Lower Manhattan. And we've asked her to talk to us a little bit about Hurricane Sandy, what it has done to her organization, and what she has seen, because she's on the ground there. And Molly, I understand that your office is actually in Lower Manhattan, but you can't actually access it at the moment. Is that right?
Yes, I am coming at you from my beautiful living room in Brooklyn, where I've been working for the last week and a half, and will be probably for another at least a week, perhaps until our India trip. We're not sure yet when we're getting back in, actually. So yeah, we are on Water Street, so we are close to the water.
Okay, but you have power in Brooklyn. Did you have power continuously, or has it been restored recently?
I did. I was very fortunate in this section of Brooklyn. We're in Crown Heights, and we were able to actually watch the entire thing unfolding, even on cable TV. So, you know, I don't know that that's necessarily a fortunate thing. It was a pretty scary thing to see unfolding and wonder kind of what was happening right outside. But yes, in that way, we were quite fortunate in this area, for sure.
But your offices for the Global Autism Project are located in Lower Manhattan. Have you been able to get there at all to see what has happened to your office?
Not yet, no. Unfortunately, the basements in this section flooded with millions of gallons of water, knocked out boilers, knocked out electricity. So it's really a health and safety issue right now. You know, I was telling someone I barely know where the stairs are in our building. We're so used to walking in the door, checking in at security, and taking the elevator up.
Wow.
But no, we are going to be having police and fire escorts to be able to take a few items out, just because we don't know when we're going back. But no, the building has been shut down by the city, unfortunately, and deemed unsafe.
Devastating, I'm sure, to an organization such as yourself. And are you pretty much able, have you set up a base in your apartment so that you're able to continue operations?
We have. This organization was a three-woman show for a number of years. So actually my apartment knows all too well what it's like to run the office out of here. But we've grown a lot since we have moved out of here. And it is, you know, now we're trying to kind of set everything up. Of course, you know, I'm used to working from a distance, right? I've been able, all of our phone calls and everything with all of our partners have been fine, because we do everything over Skype anyway. But in terms of the meetings that we have and interviews with SkillCorps people and things like that, we've had to tweak things a bit. And of course, we don't get to have our staff come in and work. Everyone's from home now. So
I have to ask you, because you're there, and I know that you're somebody who, you're very much an activist and you see what's going on. For those of us that are every place else in the world, we're watching in horror. I was saying earlier that I look at this and I can't imagine for the average family what this is like. But then, as a mom of a child with autism, I think, okay, factor in autism, and my knees shake. I don't know what to do to help, and I'm sure I'm not the only person in that boat. You're there. What do you see, and what do you think we can do to help?
Yeah, you know, it's exactly. I remember during Hurricane Katrina sort of wondering what's happening right now for the families who have kids with autism. You know, and I remember thinking that. I had just returned from Ghana and thought, you know, what's happening here for the families and what's happening. And unfortunately, you know, I don't entirely know what's happening for families who have kids with autism. I know that a lot of programs have been able to reopen, but, you know, I know that QSAC, Quality Services for the Autistic Community, some of their group homes sustained damage. So some of their adults with autism, their homes sustained damage. A lot of nonprofits that serve the community of people with autism have had damage or been out of the office. You know, even if your office wasn't damaged, we weren't actually able to access Manhattan for several days.
Yeah.
And so that was challenging as well. I will say I've been to Staten Island. I've been to Red Hook. We had some friends whose basement and first floor of their apartment was flooded in Red Hook, Brooklyn. We spent some time there helping with the cleanup. Went to Staten Island, helping to distribute. Lots of things have been donated. Lots of people are coming together. The challenge is getting it out from the donation point to the people who need it. So we were actually doing that, driving coats and blankets out to people and leaving them. And then there's also a lot of nursing homes and nursing homes, of course, oftentimes serve adults with autism as well, especially around here.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of one of the evacuation shelters where we've been volunteering over the last week actually has about 400 people who are elderly or developmentally disabled in some way. So there, and the very tragic part is that we don't know where these people are going because their building was in the Rockaways, which, as you know, I'm sure it's been destroyed. So. I will say for people who want to send donations, who want to help, I would absolutely encourage you to send cleanup supplies. There are lots of jackets here and lots of blankets and lots of clothes and lots of food. And unfortunately, a lot of that is also sitting outside right now. And we're expecting another storm tomorrow.
Right.
So we need that stuff. But the things that everybody seems to need, and I find myself going out and buying them, are things like contractor cleanup bags and bleach and masks. And I mean, this is a flooding situation. Things are getting moldy and sewage and mud. It's a disaster zone. It really is. Encourage people to send cleanup supplies.
Okay.
To New York. That's what I encourage. And then additionally, I would look for, especially, if you are specifically interested in supporting organizations who work with the population of autism who are affected, I would look for New York-based organizations and see what their needs are. As I mentioned, CUSAC, saying, we've lost this and this and this. So I would recommend that.
Well, I thank you so much for your input. I know the frustration in Haiti when Haiti happened, that there were so many of us who were saying we want to donate and give to the general population, but we also want to be able to help with autism. And one of the things that we were all told then was, for now, we need basic things to happen. We need electricity and we need water. So, you're never wrong with donating to the Red Cross to make those things happen, and then being mindful that later on it's important to make sure that you donate specifically to autism. Well, Molly,
that's key. This is a long-term recovery for, we've been very fortunate to, people are working around the clock here to get subways set up, to get things set up right now, but this is a long-term recovery effort we're looking at. It really is.
Well, I'm glad that you're safe, and I'm glad that your operation is still able to work, because the Global Autism Project is an amazing organization, and we thank you for all the work that you do. And as things unfold, now you're getting ready to go to India, correct?
We are, yeah. We head out to India at the end of November, so we'll be there for the International Day of Persons with Disabilities, and there's a big sports day planned. I'll have 5 Skill Corps members traveling with me as well, and a board member is going to be there with us. So we have a terrific team. And then we'll also be participating in the conference in Calcutta that's being run by ABA India, which is a new organization in India as well, a few years old. So
remarkable. Well, we wish you all the best on your trip to India. And when you get back, keep us posted on how things are going with the Global Autism Project. But also, if you see something specific that an organization needs, please let us know, because we're very interested in being helpful and supportive.
Great. Wow. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Molly, and have a safe time with this nor'easter on the way. Keep warm.
Exactly.
All right. Definitely. Thank you so much for your time.
Okay, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So that was Molly Ola Pinney of the Global Autism Project joining us, and I just wanted that opportunity to talk with her about Hurricane Sandy because so much is happening there. We haven't heard it from the perspective of people who work with autism because they're busy, and Molly's busy, but she took the time out to be with us today. So we're going to take a break, and actually we're going to start to show you the A word. This is the documentary being made here at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders following a little boy, Jack Riley, as he begins early intensive behavioral intervention. Take a look at this and we'll talk in just a moment. This is the A word.
What are you doing? He knows more about this than I do. It scares me. We're watching Happy Feet right now, and it has helped us in his feeding. As per a suggestion, we stop it and make it fun for him to take his next bite.
Take a bite. Take a bite.
Not only did he feed himself his applesauce and laugh the whole time, he fed himself 6 or 8 bites of soup, which he's never done. He's done that 2 meals in a row. So looking forward to today. We're hoping that we've made a positive change in his eating, but we will try it at approximately 12:30, I guess. We will do the same thing. I'll give him some soup and some yogurt with a banana chopped inside. And I will try to get him to watch this and sort of feed himself. Right, bud? Come in! Hi. Where are you?
Oh, hi. Hi, Jack Riley. I'm my friend. Do you remember her?
Miriam is a new therapist working with Jack Riley. Today, she's shadowing Jessica to observe and learn from her.
So right now I'm just going to probe to see what he knows, so I can find a new target for him. What is it? No, try again. What is it? Chicken. What is it? Chicken.
I think he's saying
airplane. Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. What is it? No, what is it? Hey, you need to do work first and then you get the toy, okay? What is it? No, you need to look better. That's unusual. You need to look better, buddy. Nope. Try again. What is it? Oh, do you want your toy? Toy. Toy? Okay. Well, what is it? Shoe. Okay, thank you. What is this one? Snake. Good. What's this one? Door. Okay. What's this one? Hippo. Whoa, hippo. That's so good. Hippo. I think we're gonna do chicken. And then we're gonna be moving into matching soon, where we're gonna match 2D pictures to 3D objects, but we have to have mom and dad do the stimuli. So we're just gonna use like objects that are around his house, so that we have the object that we can match it to, so it's a lot easier. And then after he gets the identical, then we're gonna move into similars. So like different colored balls or different cars. Alright, bud, you ready? Okay. You ready? Ready? Give me 5. I got you. Oh, you're so easy to tickle. Hi. Give me 5. I got you again. You're so easy. Give me 5. I got you again. You're easy to tickle. Okay, one more time. I got you. Where's the tickle spot? It's right here. Okay. What is it? Say chicken. Chicken. Good. What is it? Chicken. Say chicken. Good. What is it? Chicken. Chicken. Good. Sit up though. What is it? Chicken. Chicken. Very good. All right. Here you go, kiddo.
Watermelon. Watermelon. Pineapple. 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 Watermelon. Watermelon. Super cool.
Very cool. I know. We're going to be feeding now.
That's the one that's different.
Shireen was here, so I just gave him pancakes.
Okay. And Happy Feet's the most reinforcing for him. All done. Well, we didn't even start yet,
and you'll be all done, bud. We're gonna eat, right? Yeah, Bert?
I'm gonna try doing it for
Okay.
now. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
Just to see.
So here's the
play.
pause, and there you can just hit the pause again and
Right,
it'll play.
okay. So we're gonna take a bite. And then we get the movie. Take a bite and then you can have the movie.
20 me to try it? Ordinarily he would have applesauce right now. And it's little. He'll feed himself.
He'll feed himself with that better than this?
Yes.
Has he fed himself yogurt?
He hasn't yet.
Okay.
We've done applesauce and then soup, and he started on the soup. He did a few bites on the soup after finishing the applesauce.
Okay. Maybe
Whatever you think.
applesauce would be better
Okay.
for today because it's preferred, right? Versus
Yeah, it's just,
okay.
it's something he's always fed himself.
Wanna try it?
After 10 weeks of ABA therapy, Jack Riley's therapists are now working on feeding. They waited to work on this skill until they worked on compliance with him, since feeding is such a huge behavioral problem. They wanted to make sure that Jack Riley would listen to them before they started working on this. In order for Jack Riley to watch the movie, he must feed himself a bite. And since it's such a preferred item, they are hoping it will motivate him to eat. This is new for Jack Riley, so therefore the tantrums are going to be much bigger because he's not used to this.
That's good. Nice job. You did it. There you go. Nice job. There you go. All right, let's take another bite. One more bite. Wow, very good. There you go. Okay, take another bite.
People.
Yeah. Is Mambo there? Take another bite.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let me see. Oh, all right. That's good. So when he does that, what happened earlier, it's really upset.
In the chair?
Yeah. And he'll just keep stepping in. And
Walk away.
walk away. Good, eating. So yeah, just don't even say anything. And you know, when he's doing his thing, you can just present it again. Still swats you away. And that's okay, just walk away.
Okay.
Because part of it could be, the reaction.
Attention.
Yeah, the attention that he's looking for. And if you just kind of walk away, then he doesn't get any of that.
Right.
So hopefully that'll subside, and that's what it is. But we'll see. What works, what doesn't work.
Well, we had a great dinner last night with him because Cheryl does this dancing, but she's goofier than I am. But and he just cracks up and eats, and she kept turning it off, but she made it kind of a game.
All right, you want some more Mambo? You want some more movie? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, happy feet. You give me a high five for eating all your applesauce. High five, you're leaving me hanging.
Jessica is giving Jack Riley verbal praise for finishing his applesauce because it motivates him. Feeding is a new skill for him, so each small step he makes is met with large enthusiasm. The hope is that the excitement that he sees from his parents and therapists will motivate him to do it again.
Right here. Ah, you got me. Want some more movie? Yeah? Okay. Here we go.
Jack Riley continues to tantrum, refusing to eat his lentil soup for about 15 minutes. All he's had to eat so far for lunch is applesauce.
Jack, want a cracker? Get something more in you, okay?
You can take over.
Okay. Alrighty.
I just wanted to see if he would feed himself the soup, but that's okay. We can do that another day.
He might just be mad now.
Yeah.
You want to just take a bite? One bite, and then we'll watch this. You kidding me? Ding, 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 ding. Take a bite. Take a bite. Take a bite. I know. You have to earn it, though, huh? Life gets tough. That's how you get paychecks. You earn it. Right?
Whoa.
Whoa. Whoa.
When did you notice that he had a hard time eating? Like, it's always been like this ever since?
No, this is extreme. He's very finicky. There's certain things that we have no problem with. Usually applesauce for quite a while he would eat on his own. Then he stopped, and we've just gotten him back to doing it again. Obviously pancakes he devours in the morning on his own. We just tear him up and he eats them by himself. But new foods and just if he's not in the mood. I feed him probably most of his lunches because I'm home during the day more often than Cheryl is. And she's more apt to feed him dinner. She probably does a better job than I do, but we do it a little bit differently. But this is extreme, to be this upset at his soup. I don't think he's digging the fact that the movie's just not on. Usually he just gets to watch the movie, and we haven't really tested him on that.
That is the A word, and we all know that I love the A word, but I want to talk a little bit today about, did you hear that one conversation between the therapist, Jessica, and the dad says, well, when he flips out like that in the high chair, what exactly am I supposed to do? And she says, walk away. And, you know, we talk on the show all the time about planned ignoring and what planned ignoring is. It's really hard to get your head wrapped around. And I would tell you that there are still times that I struggle with it. Not the understanding of it anymore. I struggle with the doing of it. And I think my husband would admit that sometimes he struggles with the understanding of it. And we're, you know, we had 5 years of intensive ABA in our home. So it's not like that we were new to this, right? So if you're struggling with understanding it, just know, you know, air hug, we're all in this boat together. It's hard. It's counterintuitive. It doesn't seem... It doesn't seem like it makes sense, first of all, and then the actual being able to stop yourself in the moment is really hard. And I laugh because, you know, the dad says, well, what am I supposed to do? And she says, walk away. Don't feed this flame. If he's having emotions, and it's not the end of the world. And can I just tell you that for me, that was a new concept, that having an emotion is not the end of the world. And especially when I have this little bundle of joy that I love so much, and I don't want him to be uncomfortable ever, right? And here I see my child whining or upset or getting ready to throw something, and I feel as a parent like I need to change something, which is not the truth. All of our kids are going to have emotions, and they're going to feel frustration, and we don't need to act as if that's not going to happen. It's going to happen. And if you think about what you want for your child long term, you want for your child to be successful. You want your child to have friends. You want your child to feel happy, right? But nobody can be happy 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No one can. People are happy when they're able to overcome frustration, right? When they've accomplished something and they have the self-esteem that comes with that. So what we really want then is to make it possible for our child to persevere through frustration and to not be stymied by emotions that come up, right? It's a new way of looking at things. This is very new for me because I just wanted to make it better. Well, we can't, first of all, and if we could, would we be stopping growth? Oh, right? So in any case, she says, walk away. He's going to have the emotions. We're not saying that he's not, but walk away. Now, she says he can walk away because the behavior doesn't warrant any concern. He's in the high chair, he's not in danger, and she's not saying leave the room, like go to the corner store and pick up a gallon of milk, right? She's saying just walk away, be in the kitchen so you can still see him, but that you're not going, it's okay, it's all right, you're all right, just do this, and having this whole big discussion. It's a new concept for the dad, right? And then the next moment comes along and he's having, right? And while he's doing that, the dad is saying to him, you know, sometimes life is hard, pal, and you know, you got to do these things to get your paycheck, right? Okay, so if we stop the tape there and ask ourselves, why is the dad saying that? Who is he saying that for? I do this all the time. This is one of the reasons why I love this dad, because I see myself in this dad. I cannot help myself. The jaw starts to move, the lips move, and the sound comes out because I cannot help myself. It's not that I think, the reinforcement thing is not that it makes my child feel better, because it doesn't make my child feel better. It makes me feel better. It makes me feel better. And that's why my jaw yaps like that. And I strongly suspect that for this dad, it's uncomfortable when your child is whining and you want to make it better. And you've learned this new thing. Hey, I'm making you go through this rough thing because it's going to help you to get your paycheck. And we need to explain that. But it doesn't get the job done that we're trying to get done. So, I recently had this conversation with my son that there was something that he was frustrated about, and he was going, and I said, I hear your frustration, but you need to tuck that all in on the side. Make that noise on this in the inside, and we can do this as parents. And I do. I start talking to myself in my head going, I know that the reason why I'm doing this is because in the long term it's better for him. I just don't have to say it out loud. I'm going to inhibit that response. And that will help me to teach my child how to inhibit, because we don't say, we're not supposed to say everything that we think and everything that we feel. It's not a good place to be, right? It's not productive. It's not tactful. It can create problems. I have said before on the show, sometimes I open my mouth and my entire brain falls out. I'm working on inhibition. And this dad has had to work on inhibition because we want to say things. But it doesn't get the job done. And what we do when we do that is run the risk of giving attention, which feeds the flame, and then we end up getting kids who whine. Right? We don't want that. But planned ignoring means ignoring the behavior, not the child, still in the same room with the child, but not trying to fix or do or make the child feel better. Take a lock. Think it on the inside, inhibit the response. But a really amazing documentary series. I hope that you're watching them on their very own YouTube channel so that you get to see not only the child learn, but the parents learn, and the rest of the family learn, because you know he now has a sister. I don't want to give too much away. But watch the full arc and you learn so much. That's the A word. We are going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to look at your answers to the question of the day, which was, what social skills would you like to be working on with your child? Stick with us.
Arts and craft activities are a great way to practice on skills you're already working on with your child. For the month of November, we'll be making a paper corn. The skill we're going to be focusing on with this activity is fine motor, more specifically the pincher grasp. You'll see why in just a moment. Depending on the skill level of your child, you can also have them help you fold the paper, trace the silhouette of the corn, or cut it out. It all depends on what you want to be focusing on today. The materials you'll be needing are paper, tissue paper, a pencil, glue, and a cup of water and paintbrush if you're using the wet glue, scissors, and a template you can download from our website at facebook.com/autismlive. And don't forget to like us while you're there. Or you can always just draw it from your imagination. All right, let's start the activity. First I want to do is take my tissue paper I bought from the store and turn it into strips that I can then turn into squares. Again, they don't need to be perfect squares because we're going to be changing its form anyways in the end. All right, and as you can see, I've done it to several different colors. I cheated, and they're all right here for me to use. All right, the next thing we want to do is to make the shape that we're going to be gluing all the kernels onto. I have my template that I already downloaded from facebook.com/autismlive, and now I'm going to use this to make the form that we're going to be gluing onto. I'm going to take one of my pieces of paper, I'm going to fold it in half. This way the corn will be symmetrical. Once it's been folded in half, I'm going to take my form and then I'm going to trace around it. And again, depending on your child's skill level, either you can do it or the child can do it. But again, the focus of this activity is the pincher grasp. All right, now that I have it traced, I'm going to cut it out. And ta-da! Here is my blank corn, but it's missing its kernels. So now that's what we're going to be working on. I'm going to use this glue, but you can always use a glue stick as well. The reason why I like this one is that it doesn't dry as fast. So I'm going to squeeze it all over my corn and then take my paintbrush, dip it in some water, and then smear it all over the corn. The next step is making the kernels. What your child is going to do is take one of the tissue squares and practice their pincher grasp. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. And once they have this, then they're going to place it onto the corn. And as you can see, it's got a lot of surface area to cover with these kernels, so lots of opportunities to practice their pincher grasp. And ta-da! It's done. As you can see, lots of opportunity to practice your child's pincher grasp. When you're finished, don't forget to share your pictures online at facebook.com/autismlive. I look forward to seeing them and see you soon. Bye.
Can you see me? Can you see me flying by your side?
Welcome back. I want to remind you that if you want the template for that, the corn, you can get that on our Facebook site. And there's the Facebook site there. And of course, while you're there, we appreciate a like, because we do appreciate that. I mentioned that we were going to come back and do your answers to the question of the day. And then I got so excited about everything else that I put it on a different page. But our question today was, what social skill would you like to work on with your child? And some of the different responses here. Someone said saying hello and continuing a conversation. There's a great skill that is so manageable, but notice that there's two separate skills there. And this, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is how I am. I tend to think, oh, well, I wish that they would do this, and I tend to lump skills together. And what I've learned over the years is that to declump them and to separate them, and even thinking about saying hello and thinking about all the different ways in which we say hello and all the different circumstances that we say hello. There's a great lesson called Greetings and Salutations in the skills program that helps you to be able to teach a child how to say hello and how to address people when they're saying hello in all the different circumstances, and breaks it all down for you, which is really fun and helps you to reach generalization, because we don't want to just teach saying hello in one circumstances when our child's going to have to do it a million different ways across their lifetime, probably 1,000,000,008 different ways. And of course, continuing conversation, so many skills involved there. Like, we could probably break that down easily into 10 different skills, which are all in the social language curriculum of skills. Absolutely amazing. Even as an adult, reading through those lessons, I truly believe has changed the way I look at conversation and made me someone who is more aware and I hope a better communicator when I am in a group, especially. Really amazing lessons. Another person who wrote in and said empathy in capital letters. Empathy is a really hard thing because in order to teach empathy, we have to start, there's a whole lot of prerequisites for that, right? That we need for a child to understand physical states. We need for a child to understand emotions, and we need them to understand them expressively and receptively. We talked about expressive and receptive language. Well, same thing for emotions. They need to understand the emotions that they're having and that the emotions that others are having, and how to convey their emotions when they're having an emotion, and how to understand when somebody else is conveying an emotion, to receptively be able to say, okay, it appears that that person is sad, or it appears that that person is angry. You know, sometimes that we'll be in a place where other people would recognize and say, don't push their buttons right now, right? And sometimes our kids don't recognize that. And can we teach that skill to our child? We can. It's painstaking, and sometimes it feels like it's moving really slow. But again, I always say that, you know, if you pull one little area of skill deficit out and you teach that, it's amazing how it grows and blossoms and can add to your child's skill set in so many ways that you don't even realize. So we have to teach emotions, and we have to teach physical states and states of being to our child. And then we have to teach the senses to a child. And then we have to teach sensory perspective taking. And then we get into perspective taking. But if you teach perspective taking, think about this for a second. If you teach perspective taking, but you haven't taught emotions, you're not going to get to empathy. Because a child can look at it and say, well, their point of view is that they're seeing this, but if they don't factor in the emotions of it, then they're not going to have an appreciation for how the other person is feeling. So really a lengthy set of skills, but we can do it. And when we do, I was saying yesterday, my child is very empathetic in a lot. There are some areas where he's not, right? So we're still working on, but there are a lot of areas where he demonstrates empathy, and that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And we all also have a basis for when he doesn't, to be able to explain to him and break it down for him and say, you need to stop for a second. What's wrong with what's happening right now? What's happening that's inappropriate? And then he can tell us, well, it seems like my friend is really upset and I'm not being very kind. And then we work on that, because awareness, it's a big part of it. Another person who says socializing and being in large crowds. And for some of our kids, that's a really difficult thing, isn't it? I will be honest with you that my child does not have a problem being in large crowds. It's me. So it's a very interesting thing. I know I've shared before on the show that I have a really good friend whose child is on the spectrum. He's the same age as my child. And we joke about it all the time, that we think that our kids were switched at birth, because we'll go someplace and my child is having the same issues that my friend is, and I'm having the same issues that her child is. So sometimes we've had to divide and conquer, and I have to go stand outside with her child while she's inside with my child. Because it can be a lot. It's a lot of sensory things. But we can work to systematically desensitize specific sensory things to make it easier for our kids to be in large crowds. And we want to work really slow on that. We never want to throw them into situations where we haven't prepared them and given them the skills to be able to cope. So that's something that we can work on really slowly. Another person says smelling and hugging people, especially girls he doesn't know. You know, it's interesting, because I was just saying that over the weekend I met a young girl on the spectrum who liked to smell people and was smelling everybody's hands. And, you know, the sense of smell is a very personal thing, and some people are very aversive to smells and other people love them. But it is an experience of the world. And I think a perfect example, there are times that our children will engage, and our young adults and our adults on the spectrum will engage in behavior that is challenging because it's not socially acceptable. We can understand it, right? If we break it down and go, well, I certainly had a weekend where I was hugging and being hugged by a lot of people. And, I know some people smelled great, just like incredible, great. And other people didn't have so much of a smell. And, there were some people who, because of how they were working, whatever, that did not have the best smell going on. I certainly noticed it. People do. So we can't expect for our kids not to notice when somebody has a smell to them, good, bad, or indifferent. But teaching them the social rules, first of all, about we don't hug people that we don't know. And we can try to explain why, but giving social rules and having your child follow them, whether they understand them or not, we can absolutely make that happen. And then in another lesson, we can help them to understand the whys and wherefores of the social rules. So that's a big part of it. But also giving them other acceptable things to do, replacement behaviors. So we're teaching that inhibition of, I'm not going to do this thing that I want to do. And what do I do when I have that compulsion that I want to walk up and hug somebody? What do I do? What do we do when we have a compulsion to do something? I remember I was teaching college. I was not a young person. I was a college professor. And there was an exhibit that they had in the building that I was working in. And they had this statue. And I don't know why. I can't explain it to you. And it was very tall. It was probably 14 feet tall. And I wanted to touch the top of it. It was just this like weird thing that I just wanted to touch the top of it. There was something about it. I was compelled. I couldn't. I mean, it was 14 feet tall, but I would walk by it every day and I would think, I want to touch the top of that. What is that about? And I was an adult with a master's degree, but I really wanted to. And there was a day when I just happened to be walking through when they were taking the sculptures down, and there it was on its side. And I will admit to you, I went over and I touched it. And I think about that whenever I see my child or another kid someplace where there's something they just want to touch, and it may be breakable or it may be something that you should not touch that, but they want to. And finding replacement behaviors, things that we can do, self-talk, social rules, and things that we say to ourselves so that we don't behave in ways that could potentially get us in trouble. And the museum curator, by the way, was there when I touched it, and he said it was okay, but I'm sure it wasn't. In any case, these are things we can work on. Another person who says work on showing him how to say hello. We talked about that, greetings and salutations. Impulsive hitting and grabbing other children. We've been talking about inhibition. Speech. And this is the one that always pulls at my heartstrings, because I hear you guys say speech, and I know as a parent, I know what you're talking about. I know. And when my child lost virtually all functional communication, and that was the thing that I would say, but when is he going to talk? When am I going to be able to talk? And then he would say a couple of words, and it was, well, when am I going to be able to have him tell me what he's thinking and he's feeling? When am I going to be able to tell him what I'm thinking and feeling? When are we going to be able to have a discussion so that I know his opinion and I can tell him my opinion? We all had our children and thought we thought that was coming to us. It didn't even seem like that was something you needed to pray for, right? And when it's not there, man, it really reevaluate your priorities, right? But what I want to tell you, and I say this with love and with consideration for where you are, with a knowledge that we progressed past that point. But we don't ever give up on speech, ever. We don't. But our first priority has to be functional communication. It's not giving up on speech. Hear me when I say that. But we need to get functional communication first. And then we can do the hard work. It isn't going to be there for all of our kids. I can't imagine. I really, truly can't. But we can get functional communication with all of our kids. And it's not the same, but being able to have a conversation and have them tell us what they need has to be what's paramount. Another person who says, my son used to kiss every kid he came into contact with, LOL. Some didn't like it very much, LOL. Another person says, impulsiveness. Well, we start with inhibition with that, right? We can all be impulsive from time to time. Another person says his anxiety is about seeing people other than his immediate family, saying hello and not running away or hiding. He's 7 and he'd rather be alone than with anyone at all, with a sad face. Well, you know, go slow, and make sure that when the immediate family is with him, that it's reinforcing, that as much as possible, whatever it is that's reinforcing to him other than being alone, that we find the way in. So that he finds it reinforcing. If there's something that he likes to do, that we do it with him. You know, if for a child if what they love to do is spin a plate, then we sit and spin a plate with them, so that they find it reinforcing for him to be with us. Is it, you know, later on, are we going to try to get him interested in something else besides the plate? Yeah. We are. But first, we have to let him know that it's okay to be with us, and that he gets to be himself, and that he's safe with us. And then once you get that with the immediate family, somebody that you trust implicitly to come and be there as well, moving very slowly. But we find our way in that way. And somebody said, nothing, my child is perfectly happy being who she is. I love that. And someone else who says, my daughter is 10 and cannot talk. I would turn down $1 million if just once she was upset, she could tell me why. I will tell you that you can get there. You can. With functional communication, you really can. It may take you the next 10 years, but I tell you that you can if you target these things and do all the prerequisites and work slowly. You can get there. Okay, we have to take a break. There are more of these, and I encourage you guys to go and read them on Facebook because they're amazing, and we're going to continue to talk about social skills. But we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to give our motor skill tip for the week, which is about binocular vision, something that's really important to all of us, whether we realize it or not. So stick with us.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is a visionary in the field of autism, and now you get to ask her questions every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on Ask Dr. Doreen. Welcome back. It's time for our motor tip of the week. And this week, I chose a skill that we sometimes don't think about, we take for granted. And it's really important that we don't take it for granted with our kids. And that is, under visual motor, binocular vision. So first of all, when we try to understand binocular vision, and please know I'm not an eye doctor, I'm not an expert in this, but I had to find out a little bit about this because my son has some difficulties in this area and I didn't know. So let's talk about two different types of binocular vision, first of all, convergence and then stereopsis. So convergence is, talk about new jargon, right? Convergence, in binocular vision in total, it's our eyes, because our eyes have a distance apart from each other, right? But they will train themselves to look at something so that we only see one of something instead of double vision. And convergence is that moment at which, you know how if you bring something close to you and you're seeing one thing and you get to a certain distance and all of a sudden you see two? And when we go to the eye doctor, they do a test with us and, you know, they do it in different ways, but they bring something closer to see the moment at which we see two things. And they're really looking to see if convergence is happening at the right distance from our nose, because there is an actual distance at which it should happen. With stereopsis, what we're talking about is our eyes working together to create depth perception. So we see sometimes times that there are kids that have difficulty with writing letters, their actual block letters. We see children who have hard time with hand-eye coordination, that they're clumsy, that if they're working on fine motor and they're going to pick something up, that they tend to drop things. And a lot of times we think, oh, well, that's fine motor. We need to build those fine motor finger and hand skills, except that sometimes the hand and motor skills are behind because the eye isn't processing. So if you imagine if the pen is here and you go to pick it up, but you're seeing two of them, you're missing it, right? And it's really difficult for our kids to be able to tell us that they're having a problem seeing in this way, because their view of the world, what they see, is what they think everybody else sees. Especially when they don't have a lot of perspective taking, they don't realize that you're seeing something different. And unfortunately, this is an area where we tend to not take perspective and think, okay, what is my child seeing? And especially when there's a language deficit, figuring out what they're seeing can be difficult. We really want to consider strongly taking them to an eye specialist, and we'll talk more about that in a second. But so convergence, our eye's ability to be able to make two things become one, but that moment at which they converge, our eyes converge, and we will see two again. And it needs to be in the right proper field. And for stereopsis, it's going to be if you've ever experienced, if you're walking with your child and they bump into you a lot, there may be a problem with stereopsis. They're not able to see how far away you are because their eyes aren't working together to create the depth perception. It can be an issue. And while this is not one of the things that is on the autism diagnosis criteria, it is something that sometimes our children will have difficulty with. It's not part of the diagnosis, but it may be there. And we may find that by working on some exercises with them, it helps them to deal with other things that they actually have included in their diagnosis, if that makes sense. So today I wanted to talk about a specific lesson about convergence, about what we can do to test convergence with our child to see if there's an issue. So the setup is that the therapist or the teacher places a white shoelace, probably have a shoelace around the house, through the hole of a button. And but it's got to be a dark colored button. And then he or she places one end of the shoelace on the nose of the child and has the child hold the shoelace there. So you put it on their nose and you hold it there. The therapist or parent holds the rest of the shoelace straight out from the child's nose, and then he or she moves the button to varying locations along the string. And we literally want to see the eyes come in, and we can take note. If the child is verbal enough, we can ask them, when are you seeing two buttons as opposed to one? But if the child isn't, we can still see, and here's the rest of this. So the parent says, watch the button, slides the button far away from the child's nose on the shoestring, and the child uses both eyes to focus on the movement of the button and demonstrates convergence. The eyes actually will come in by pointing inward once the button is 2 to 4 inches from the child's nose. So that's really that window, 2 to 4 inches, where we want to see the eyes literally come in. We're not going to ask the child to keep their eyes there very long, because that can be something that's actually painful, having your eyes crossed. We're not hurting them by doing it for a second, and we can try it at different places. And again, if the child is verbal, we can say, when are you seeing two buttons? But we can, and again, we can build a skill by doing it faster and slower so that the eyes get better and we strengthen the muscles. But if the child cannot do this activity, if this is not happening, and we're not seeing that the eyes are coming in, then that is the moment when we really seriously want to consider and consult with a developmental optometrist. So this is not your run-of-the-mill doctor that you're going to. This is a very specific person who is trained to be able to work with children all across the spectrum as well as other children. When my son, it was 2 years ago now, that we began to realize that some of the things that we were attributing to autism, he could do them, but he wasn't able to get to fluency with them, and they weren't adding up. And finally we realized, it's time. He needed to go to an eye doctor anyway, and we said it's time. These things, his handwriting was behind. There were so many other skills that he was able to do, and he could write the letters. He didn't have a problem with that, but being able to write when everybody else was writing, it was overwhelming to him, and it wasn't a fine motor issue anymore, so it was, you know, what's the issue here? But he was also a little clumsy, and he was having difficulty steering a bicycle, so we took him to the developmental optometrist, who gave him specific exercises to do, and his ability to focus his eyes has now greatly changed. And I could kick myself because we didn't do it sooner, but one of the things that we were told was it's really hard for your average doctor to be able to diagnose these things before the age of 6. But the doctor that we went to is really remarkable and is very used to working with children on the autism spectrum, was incredibly patient. And I said to him at one point, I said, would you have been able to do this with my child if I'd brought him in a year ago or 2 years ago? Because I can see where he would have, my son would have benefited in class by having done these exercises earlier. And our doctor said, well, you know, because of his experience, that he really felt like maybe a year or 2 earlier, and that he's very used to working with children who are not verbal. So don't be put off if your child is not verbal from going and getting this kind of support. And I would encourage you, you know, a lot of people say 6, but I really, if you find an expert, I really think that we could have had this diagnosed at 5 when my child was doing handwriting in kindergarten, and now we're having to do a little bit of catch up on that. His handwriting, print writing, is still behind what it needs to be. His cursive writing isn't, because by the time he got to cursive writing, he already had these lessons, and that's a little bit of a frustration to me, and I hope that you guys won't wait. And by the way, once you get the lessons from the developmental optometrist that are right for your individual child, there are also lessons in skills that can help you to be able to work along with the developmental optometrist. And I think we have a couple of videos to show this particular lesson being shown. Emily, do we have one of those? Okay, let's see those. We have 2 of them. We get to see that you can make it fun. And let's take a look at the other one.
Run behind me. Nice job.
And that particular one was testing to see if the child, if stereopsis was working for them, so that we can walk down the street and ask our child to follow us. And if they're able to maintain a proper distance following us, then we know that stereopsis is working. But if you ask your child to walk behind you or run behind you, and I would encourage you to do both, and they're not able to, it really is a problem with depth perception. And again, another reason to go to the developmental optometrist and look at stereopsis. Really important, because your child's ability to negotiate and get through the world without bumping into things is going to be an issue. All right, there it is, binocular vision, and I hope that if your child is having issues with this, that you will further look into it. And I also want to remind you again that there are lessons, these lessons, to see how your child is doing and to help them are in the skills program that you can visit skillsglobal.com and use them. Very beneficial. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we've got some more exciting stuff for you. Stick with us.
Hi, I'm Bryce Myler, and I'm the Contracts Director for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. I've been here for about 5 years. CARD has several employees with many years of insurance experience, dealing with insurance, dealing with pre-authorizations, dealing with discovering whether there's coverage or not. So we have more experience than any ABA provider that I've ever come across. So for a prospective client, somebody that may be interested in, you know, ABA therapy and what CARD has to offer, we have a special 800 number, and you call that number. They will talk to you about what we have to offer, how ABA works. He'll ask you for the front and back of your ID card, and then we check to see if you do or do not have coverage. If you have coverage for ABA therapy, we try to do whatever we can to set it up where we can bill for you and you don't have to fight with the insurance company every month to get your claims paid. For California residents, we recently did a series of insurance trainings all over the state, and you can click on the link below to watch pretty much the full presentation. It has a lot of information, how you can get your insurance company to comply with what they're supposed to do, understanding the networks, and many other valuable pieces of information.
Welcome back. We have a little bit of time, and I want to address some of these other things that you guys wrote in about what social skills you would like to see your child working on. And somebody said table manners. I absolutely love that. And you know, that's an adaptive skill. And we know that when we work with adaptive skills, that when we are able to achieve them, and we have great luck with adaptive skills, right? There's no reason why we can't teach table manners to any child. We just have to make it reinforcing enough. And we have to break the skill down into the little fine increments and not try to take on everything all in one fell swoop. So, for instance, you know, it may be that the skill that you want to start to work on is putting your napkin in your lap. Great. But that skill breaks down into maybe 5 or 6 different skills, because in order to get the napkin on your lap, most of the time the silverware is sitting on the napkin, so you have to be able to move the silverware off the napkin, take the napkin, unfold it, and then lay it on the lap so that it doesn't go immediately on the floor. So we've got lots of different things to work on there. And and so often we do this as parents, where we just want to work on it all at the same time. And our goal is that the child sits down, takes the napkin out, puts it on their lap, uses their fork, uses their knife, keeps their mouth closed while they're chewing, you know, so on and so forth. And we're not going to have any success, right? Because all we're doing is going, do this, do that, and the child doesn't ever get to the reinforcement of it. So break it down. Break it down into the teeniest, tiniest, small skills that you can, and reinforce, reinforce, reinforce. It may mean that for today, success for your child is using their fork to stab something and having it make it to their mouth. Woohoo! You know, but the truth of the matter is that we know scientifically that this is how we build to have a skill, and that we can create children who have incredible, impeccable table manners. So very doable. Just do it in increments. Another person who says hyperactiveness, that you've got a child who's really, really active, and you know, that's a big issue. And please know, I'm not a doctor, so I can't speak from any knowledge in terms of a doctor. But there are lots of different things that parents will report are really helpful to them with working with their children when their children are very, very active. And there's a wide range, and all children are different, but I would encourage you to go to both your local and your more global support group and ask some questions about what everybody else has done to help them with their hyperactive child. You are going to have some people who say to you that their child was at an extreme that they went to medication. And I have met many people who have said that it has really helped their children. The only thing that I would say to you is that before you go to medication, I would encourage you to try. There's so many other things that you can try first, and so many families who've found success with those things. Yep, there are some families that nothing works until they get to medication, but I would just encourage you before you go down that road to try as many of the other things as you can find the patients to try, because there has been great success with a variety of other things. Sometimes, you know, for some kids, there are parents who report that simply removing one artificial food color from their diet makes a tremendous difference. That's not the case for all kids, but I've heard that time and time again from parents, and it's different colors, by the way. I have one friend that literally, I have watched if we're at a party or something and the way her child changes when he gets red dye number, I don't know if it's 7, Red Lake number 7. There's a color and a number, and boy, that mom knows now my child has that, and you know, we're going to be 24 hours of not being able to contain this child, and so different without that color. And there's another child that it's a similar thing, but it's the color yellow. So, you know, really interesting. And then in other cases, people have reported that by removing a specific food. And I would also tell you for hyperactiveness that there was a study that came out, it's 1.5 years ago now, but you can find it online, a very reputable study that linked that there is a correlation that needs further study, but there is a link between behavior that seems very hyperactive and pesticides. So sometimes going all organic can make a difference for some of our kids. So I encourage you to ask your local and global support group about the kinds of things that parents have done to be able to help their child with that kind of activity, because there's a lot out there, and it's very individual to the child, and you really will want to, you know, see for your individual child. Another person who says that they too would turn down $1 million to hear their child speak. And someone else who says, my 12-year-old desperately needs to learn the art of reciprocal conversation, and so far we're not having much luck teaching him how. And I would really encourage you to check out Skills. There's a whole set of lessons about encouraging conversation. And you know, I really want to say to you that the key to everything when teaching something is A, make it simple as possible, incremental as possible, so that it is possible, and you gotta make it fun. You've gotta make it fun. You know, for some kids, I've seen kids that, you know, you take a ball, and if they love to throw a ball and catch a ball and have that interaction, you know, that each time somebody speaks, then they throw the ball, and so you catch it because you heard what they said, and then you say something and throw the ball. Just one example of the many, 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 many ways that you can encourage that back and forth. I've seen people do it in a pool where, you know, the child wants to be thrown, and it's like, okay, well, we're going to have a conversation. I say something, you say something, I throw you, you say something, I throw you again. Giving them that reinforcement for participating in the conversation. You're not going to do it the rest of their lives, but when they see how great it is to have a conversation, that volley back and forth, then they're more willing to do it. And it is hard for them. It is hard. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come back to close out the show. Stick with us.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet.
Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is a visionary in the field of autism, and now you get to ask her questions every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on Ask Dr. Doreen. So here we are, we're at the end of the show, and we just showed you the Ask Dr. Doreen clip because tomorrow is the big day. I can't even tell you how excited I am about this. Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is going to be with us tomorrow. It'll be 1 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Time. She's going to be with us for a full hour answering your questions. In just a minute, we're going to start to cycle through some of the different ways that you can be submitting your questions, but I want you to know that I'm a pretty cynical person. And there you go, you can tweet your questions too. I'm a pretty cynical person, and I am somebody that if I meet somebody, I never put too much store in somebody. You have to earn respect with me, right? And when I tell you that I believe that Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet is a visionary and she has my highest respect, it is because I have seen I'm going to get emotional. I have seen what her work has done in my house. So that's the first thing. And I had respect for her because of that, because quite honestly, I got my child back. Which is no small thing to me, right? But I will tell you that I still reserve judgment because my child had therapy through the Center for Autism and Related Disorders for a lot of years before I ever met Dr. Doreen Grand-Pichet. I realized that it was her that she was the founder of it. But you know, I put my store in the people that I was working with on a daily basis, and knew that, you know, they thought that she was incredible, and that she was an amazing teacher. And so that was something to me, but I had never met her. And then I got to meet Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet. And it was a day that changed my life, because I had been walking around for a while with a child with autism, and I thought, what on earth are we going to do to help him? And then CARD came into our home, and I saw what we were going to do to help him. And then I walked around in a circle saying, how on earth are we going to make sure that all children get the benefit of this? And I really, it was one of those things that it kept me awake at night, and I wondered, how are we going to do this? And then and then I met Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet, and I heard her speak, and I heard exactly how she was going to make it possible over a period of time for all of our kids to have access to what I knew had helped my son. And that it was not an issue. I know so many times we think that it comes down to money about our kids, and when I tell you from the very bottom of my heart that I know for sure that that's not what it's about for her, I'm not lying. You know, and so I truly say to you, she is a visionary and so knowledgeable. I can't wait for tomorrow, and I hope that you guys are going to participate and give us your questions so that we can help you. You know, I'm here because I want to hook you up with the answers. And I got to tell you, she is somebody who has knowledge and answers and hope. So I'm so thrilled that this is going to be a weekly segment as I get all messy here. But Emily's showing you some of the different ways that you can participate, and you can do it now. You don't have to wait until tomorrow. You can send us your questions. You guys have been sending questions for the last couple of weeks, and I have them. I'm hoarding them. But I'm thrilled that we're going to have the opportunity to do this, and I know that you're going to be excited too. So you're not going to want to miss that. Make sure that you tune in with us. And that is, again, at 1 p.m. Eastern Time and 10 a.m. Pacific Time, and it will be for that full hour. I also wanted to take a minute to talk about what's going to be happening the rest of the week. You know, on Wednesday, that it's Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. We will not have this week Nancy Allspaw-Jackson. Boy, the amount of work that she did for all of our kids the last couple of weeks to make Denim and Diamonds happen this last Saturday. So she's off tomorrow, but I will be here for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, and we're also going to play the interview we did with Joey Travolta. Don't forget, on Thursday, Angela Persicky's going to be with us, BCBA, and on Friday, Dr. Jonathan Tarbox is going to be with us discussing a new research article that came out about effective treatment for autism. I'm really excited about it. Don't forget, tomorrow, Ask Dr. Doreen. Until then, please give your kiddos a hug from me, and don't forget to vote. Bye-bye for now.